there, Cynthia here. Welcome to my quilt lab, and I am working on the Symphony Block of the Month by Banyan Batik of Northcott. It is the 2024 Block of the Month for this brand. It is made by Linda J. Hahn and Deborah Stanley of Frog Hollow Designs. Lovely designs. I'm working on the neutral version of this, and this is block number 3. Let's dig in and see what this is all about. All right, so here is the first block of block 3. This is A. This is the color variation I'm going to be doing on camera today. You see I've already made one of them. You're going to be making 2 of these. And basically this comes down to this corner component right here. You're going to be doing this 4 times, and you'll just rotate them for each 4 corners. So I'm just going to move this out of my way so you can see what it's going to look like. So you'll see that the top corner is 1 fabric. The big rectangles would be another fabric, and then there's 2 little triangles for the 3rd piece of fabric. I'm using these letters because it's gonna be different numbers for all of your squares. So keep that in mind. For the block A specifically, we are using fabrics 3, 4, and 14. So let me change these out to reflect the fabrics. All right, there we go. All right, so I have my fabric all labeled. I have one set just pulled aside because I'm just going to concentrate on the one corner, and I have my little map that I'm going to keep referring back to so that I make sure I put everything in its right place. The instructions are going to have you first concentrate on this guy right here. It's the half square triangle. You'll see in fabrics 3 and 4, you'll have 2 different sizes of squares, a big one and a small one. Grab the big ones and you're going to pair these together. And we're going to turn these into 2 half square triangles. So stack them on top of one another. Let me grab my handy dandy ruler. Here we go. If you watched any of my videos, you know that I love this little ruler. I use this for all of my half square triangles. It's got a slot in the center that I'm lining right up on that middle diagonal. And on either side of that diagonal, I'm going to draw a line too. That's the 1/4 inch seam that you're going to be sewing on either side of that middle diagonal. So we're going to stitch here and here, and then we're going to cut down the middle so that we'll have 2 half square triangles. So these 2 pieces are going to be for 2 of these blocks. So set the second one aside, and let's do this really quick. All right, so there's the 2 half square triangles. Now remember, this is a really lovely pattern. She gives us squares bigger than we need, so we need to square these down to the appropriate size because you see it needs to be the same size as that guy. So let's square these down really quickly. And I'm going to use a ruler that has that pretty diagonal across it, that 45 diagonal, and I'm putting that right on top of the seam that we just did and pressed. And it needs to be unfinished 2 inches, right? Let me just make sure that's correct. Oh good, that is. You hear enough numbers throughout the day, they all smear together. So I have that right on top. You'll see I have a little bit of overhang on the sides and even under the ruler, so I know I'm going to be good. Swipe, swipe, turn it around, and then do the other side. If you have a rotating mat and you want to use your rotating mat, you've probably seen me do that in another video. Great opportunity to pull out that tool. And we only need the one for this first corner, but I'm going to do the second one just so it's finished for when we get ready to do the second corner. There we go. So set one of them aside for the next corner and let's get back to our map. Okay, we're back to our map. So there's that first one, 4 and 3. So that's going right there. And of course, this one doesn't get anything. Let's talk about the big piece here in the center. So 14 is the rectangle. So the rectangle pieces, and then there's going to be a square for the top and a square for the bottom. They're going to actually go on top of each other. So let me give you a tip. So you're making sure you're paying attention to your map. You'll notice on the map, the 3 outside corners are the same fabric. 3, 3, and 3 in this instance. So 3, 3, and 3. Just trying to give you some things because I'd hate for you to piece this together wrong and have to take out your seam ripper and unstitch. So I'm going to do one block at a time. It's actually going to go on top. We're going to take our ruler and we're going to put diagonals down the center of these. It's going to make that stitching much easier. So let me just do that really quickly. And we'll do this other one. And this is just to make sure that you get a nice line that you're going to stitch on. So this is going to go on top. Remember, it's the outside corner. You're going to stitch from corner to corner, chop off this this top half, and when you fold it open, it's going to look a little something like that. So there's the 3, there's the 4, okay? Let me go and do that, and then we're going to repeat it with number 4 at the bottom. To the machine! All right, so there's that 3 connected to the 14. We're going to do the same thing with this bottom one. And I'm making sure that the diagonal is going in the correct direction. You don't want it to flip the other way. Going to stitch, going to cut away the excess, and then we're going to press it open. To the machine! All right, and there's that bottom unit of that rectangle. So 3, 14, and 4, 4 and 3, and 3. So we got the 3 pieces that's going to make up this unit. I just want to make a quick mention that she doesn't really talk about pressing at all in here. So I did a couple of blocks and pressed them in slightly different ways, and I think it's really going to come down to personal preference. I liked to open the up on the rectangle, but on the half square triangle, I just folded to the dark side. The reason I opened them up is because this is going to be a crucial point right here in that center where these 3 pieces are going to meet, and it was just easier for me to pin and to make sure I got a nice crisp corner and everything met pretty. But please experiment, maybe experiment with some scrap fabric and see which way you like. Again, the hard part about this block isn't the Y seams, because that's been taken out of the equation. It's really just making sure you're putting your fabric in the right spots and making it look like you want it to look. All right, so we have our 3 pieces. To make it look like this block, you're first going to do this seam right here. And I'm going to open this seam again so that I can have a nice point where I can meet it over here. And then we're going to attach to this one. So let me take this to the machine really quick. All right, so there's the 2 halves. And I'm just going to flip them over mirrored this way so that you can see why I opened them up. You see, because it's nice and open, it means I have a nice aiming spot for where my pin needs to be, because we want to make sure that that 1/4 of an inch meets at that seam right there. So I'm just flip this over. I'm going to grab a pin. And when I want to be really precise and make sure everything is perfect, Let me show you how I'll cheat just a little bit. It's not cheating. It's just another little trick. I'm going to get out my ruler and I'm going to lay the edge of the fabric on that 1/4 of an inch. So ideally, this seam right here, right at where the 1/4 is, that's where I'm going to put my pin. And ideally, the pin should go all the way through to the seam on the other side. Let's see if it did. Oh, and I'm ever so slightly off, but that's okay. I'm going to take the out of the second piece of fabric and I'm going to move it over just a smidgen. And that way I know when I go to do that stitch, it'll be right on the money and we'll have a nice pretty point. I'm going to keep this pin in here. I'm going to take this to the machine and I'll be right back. And there we go. And I'm pretty pleased with how that met up there in the center. Looks pretty good to me. I'm going to do this 3 more times off camera and I'm going to come back and we're going to talk about putting the block together in its final assembly. So to the machine. All right, so there's the 4 corners. They're all done. I've pressed everything to make sure they're nice and flat. Let's talk about putting them together and I'll share with you a couple of the tricks that I do to try to get these corners to all meet up. So, speaking about these corners, you can see that there's an obvious 1/4 of an inch right here where that half square triangle is on each 4. So that's a good place to keep in mind when you go to pin. And remember, it needs to match a 1/4 of an inch on that diagonal seam opposite. So if you remember my trick, you can even make a little line on the back side of it so you know where that pin is supposed to meet up. So those are the key areas to meet for, both when we go to put the rows together and then when we do the final block here in the middle. Same juncture, that 1/4 inch at that half square triangle to that diagonal seam on that rectangle piece. All right, so let's put this together then. Rows first, then in one block. You can see from my previous blocks that I liked to open these seams open because right in the center, that's a lot of fabric. And we want to make sure that it flattens out nicely so that we get a nice point there in the middle when that last seam comes together. All right, I'll take a few pictures as I go, and I'll see you at the end with a finished Lemoyne star. To the machine. All right, there we go. Another finished block. Remember, this is Lemoyne Star, block number 3. Hey, don't forget to label your blocks. That way when we go to piece everything together at the end of the year, you'll know which ones are which without having to look them up. You have several more to get through. So, get stitching, get piecing, have fun. If you found this video informative, if you have any questions, give me a thumbs up, put it in the link below. I try to answer all of mine, and I hope to see you guys next month for block number 4. It's a doozy. You're gonna love it. Anyway, I'll see you then, and as always, keep quilting.